Hello, everybody out there. Welcome to Kids Are Talking. We have a great show for you today. Tonight, kids are talking about sleep and mood. We have an amazing panel here. We have some returning panelists, and we have Bernadette Lecza from the Yale Mood Disorders Research Program here to talk about mood and sleep and all the crazy stuff she's learning there. So let's get rolling. And if you have any questions, hopefully you won't fall asleep during the show. But no, we'll see you soon.
I want to hear everyone's different perspectives and let everyone know that they're not alone.
Gives me hope for a lot of people because I know there's people that really struggle with
do things that you want to do to influence the world in the way you want.
Go out of your way to educate yourself by watching the show.
Everybody's always going to be struggling with mental health, yet nobody will know about it.
Kids Are Talking has given me an outlet to share my opinion and talk to people from all over the world.
Bernadette, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, listen, Kids Are Talking. We are honored to be here with you. This is an important topic. Sleep is important, right? I'm sure you're learning that in all of the research that you're doing. Kids need sleep to learn, and it definitely affects mood, as I'm sure you're going to tell us, right? So I'm just curious from you, what's the most interesting thing that you've learned so far about sleep and mood? Maybe something interesting or something unexpected that you didn't really think was going to be, but then you said, oh my, wow. So what have you discovered so far?
Well, I think one thing that's really interesting and surprised me is that what we do during the day absolutely impacts our ability to fall asleep and the quality of our sleep. So one thing that we're looking at now, looking at a lot of different things that impact mood and energy, but one of the things that we're looking at is what are our routines during the day and are they consistent? So if things are happening for us at certain times throughout the day, that's just sending your brain clear signals as to where you are in the day, which allows you to kind of really help to improve your sleep. So by the time nighttime falls around, you're starting to build up that drowsiness and better able to fall asleep. So we see people who have really messy routines and do things at all different times, and their sleep.
So you're saying it's not just your sleep routine, but it's actually your day routine that affects your sleep.
Yeah, wow. And I don't think a lot of people know that.
That's new. That's news to me. So thanks. We already learned something, and we're only 3 minutes into the show. So let's bring out the panel and let's see what they have to say. We have Whitley and Lauren and Cody are here. Welcome everybody. Welcome back. So Whitley, let's start with you. Just what, I told you we were doing a show on sleep and mood. You said you were totally in. And before the show, you told me that you used to sleep 12 hours a day.
Yes. Yeah. My mom.
Tell us about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Whenever I was little, my friends would always have like later bedtimes than me, and they'd be able to like get up earlier, and I'd have to go to bed earlier and then get up later. And I was so totally against this, especially as a kid. And I was always like, Mom, why do I have to go to bed so early? She's like, you need more sleep than everybody else. I'm like, but why? She's like, I don't know, but you do, because whenever you don't get 12 hours of sleep, you're grouchy, and it's not fun dealing with you when you're grouchy. So I thought it'd be fun to learn more about the why behind it.
I'm so curious. Do you mind if I ask you, like, what time were you going to sleep when you were getting those 12 hours? And how old were you?
I don't remember exactly. I know my bedtime moved from 7 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. and I was ecstatic. I remember being ecstatic about that because it was a huge deal. And it was like early elementary school, I think. But that could be completely wrong, but that's to the best of my recollection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're not sleeping 12 hours anymore?
Mm-mm.
I always thought it was like an 8-hour rule of thumb. Is
Yeah.
that right,
Yeah.
Bernadette?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think-
Generally speaking.
Yeah, I don't know if I ended up getting the full 12 hours, especially whenever there was, my mom commented, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. Until 3 or 4 years old. I was completely wrong.
Wow. Okay.
In my defense, I don't have much memory from whenever I was 3 to 4.
But that makes a little bit more sense, the 12 hours at that young age. So, but we do see people who are going to bed at 7:30 much older. And
Right.
so that's why I asked. And so that can be a little disruptive.
Cody, what about you? You're in college. You're at Indiana University, right? So you're pulling all-nighters, studying a lot, and not sleeping at all, or are you partying? Or
Yeah, I learned that I'm a pretty high functioning person when I don't need too much sleep, which isn't always the best combination, but I do my best work in the nighttime. So yeah, a lot of 4 a.m. nights studying, and I'm on the grind, and then I wake up at like probably around 8-ish, just to go to classes. But typically, in my own time, I probably go to bed at fall asleep at like 2:30, and then wake up at 11. I don't know why it's like that, but just late.
Is that consistent, or is that what you can do when you have to do it?
The 2:30 to 11 is pretty consistent. Like on the weekends, as usually when I fall asleep, I schedule my classes later because I know I like to wake. I usually don't. If I wake up at like 9, I'm not awake until 11 anyways. So I might as well just wake up later.
Yeah. And it sounds like your body clock knows that's when you wake up at 11, if you're still tired, if you wake up earlier than that.
Mm-hmm.
oh, Steven joined us. Let's switch it up a little bit. So we got Steven here. How you doing, Steven? Welcome to the show.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah, so we'll get to you in a second. We're gonna go over to Lauren. So Lauren, why don't you tell us a little bit about your sleep style, I'll call it.
Well, when I was a young kid, I struggled with sleep a lot. So I couldn't fall asleep until way later into the night. And then when I did fall asleep, I had nightmares constantly. And so I don't think I slept alone until I was like 10 years old, which yikes. But now it kind of depends on where my head is, where my mental health is at the time as to how much sleep I get. But I usually, no matter how much sleep I get, I usually wake up around 5:30 to 6 a.m. consistently, which can be rough when I don't fall asleep until way later. But there's also times when I wake up at really weird hours later in the day, which is not normal. I say later in the day, it's like 8 a.m., but
Okay. That sounds pretty consistent too, that you're getting up at the same time. And I don't know if you all knew this, but in terms of routines and how it impacts our sleep, your wake up time is really one of the most important routines. And again, it doesn't have to be a certain time. Like Cody mentioned 11, and you're mentioning like 5 or 5:30. And as long as that's for you and it's consistent, then that seems to be really important.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Bernadette, you were telling me about that, right? So it doesn't matter when you go to sleep as long as you do it consistently. So if I always go to sleep at like 1 a.m., as long as I do it consistently, then I will have less fatigue. Is that what it?
Yeah, that's what we're learning, right? That it really just helps the quality of your sleep. And it's when you change it up that you may be more fatigued.
What's that? That's called the circadian rhythm, right?
Exactly. And so those routines that we do during the day, and it doesn't have to be all of your routines, right? Maybe one or two. So wake up time and then maybe a couple during the day. It's just kind of like providing a scaffolding for your mood and your energy, right? Just kind of gives your brain really nice reference points, so it knows when it's ready to go to sleep at night.
Okay. So, Steven, welcome. Thanks for joining us. You told me that you hate sleep because what'd you say? It was a waste of time. Is that what you told me?
Yeah, I hate sleeping. I always feel like crap when I wake up after sleeping too long. So I don't know. Like my sleep schedule is pretty consistent. I mean, I usually like go to sleep between like 11 and 1 and then wake up like similar to some of the other responses. Like it's impossible for me to not wake up like after 10. Like it's really rare that I sleep past 10, and I don't know. It's just I'm a morning person.
Okay, yeah, because I was never a morning person. I actually figured out in high school I put like tape and blackout shades and everything on my windows. So as long as zero sunlight would come in, I was like a vampire. As long as zero sunlight came in, I could sleep till like 1 in the afternoon. But as soon as the sunlight hit my face, I woke up like a rooster. So
Yeah, that's just not me. I can't. Yeah, I probably could do that, but if I did, I would be less productive the rest of the day.
So remind me, what is it about sleep that you don't like? Did you say?
Well, the actual sleeping part is nice. I just don't like the fact, like, I feel like 6 to 8 hours is plenty. I get it, and then I'm still able to have, you know, a full day of like doing stuff.
Great. Is it the winding down that's hard for you?
Not really. It's more like I don't know, because sometimes I'll sleep like 10 hours and then I get up and I don't know, I feel like the day's gone.
Okay.
Yeah. It's better. I feel like it's better to sleep the perfect amount, not get too much or too little.
Yeah, agree.
So Bernadette, what is that perfect amount?
I mean, I think as a general rule, I think you mentioned 8 hours, but if you're getting between 7 to 9 hours, I think that you're doing pretty well. And certainly, some people sleep less than that. Some people sleep more than that. And I think it can be individual, but I think 7 to 9 is a pretty good range.
Now, I had taken in one of the psych classes I took, they talked about a study where they did people that slept, that slept for 8 hours and then were awake for the remainder of the day. And then they did someone that was like slept for 4 hours and then had a section of being awake, so then they were awake for, I think, 8 hours, and then they slept for 4 hours and then 8 hours. So they broke it up into 2 sleep cycles, and that ended up being less tired and more productive. But it
really?
Yeah, I don't remember I should have flagged that before the show, but
yeah, no, I'll have to look at that one. I haven't heard about that.
Yeah, I was curious if you guys had done any research about breaking it up, because I was talking about before the show about my nap times and stuff. So
no, but you know what? Like a lot of times naps are really helpful if you, I think one of you mentioned it, when you wake up at the same time, right? That's really great. But if you've gone to bed later than usual, still wake up at the same time is really important, but you might be tired that day. So a nap is really beneficial if you can do it between 1 and 3 and keep it to no longer than 30 minutes. We find that that's really helpful. And it also won't ruin your sleep for that night. It won't impact it so that you're not able to get drowsy and fall asleep, is what we're finding.
So I had a question for everybody. I wanted to know about the phone, right? So Cody, like, do you like, how is your cell phone within arm's distance of your bed when you fall asleep?
Yes, I put my phone probably under my pillow, a little, it's right where my hand is. But okay, I'm trying to get better. On your phone, you can like set up a wind down time almost and like track your sleep and everything. So it'll go on do not disturb at 11:30 with the intention of me falling asleep at 12:30. But I just can't do it because if I'm sitting in my bed, I'm just gonna be like, I don't know. It's almost like that. I forget what it's called. It's like revenge sleep or something, where I'm literally in the bed, My notifications have been off. No one is talking to me. I have no reason to be on my phone, but I'm like, I just have to. And so then
You're fighting it.
Yeah, I'm fighting it. And it's really annoying. And then when I wake up in the morning, I try not to check my phone in the morning. Like right when I wake up, give myself some time, get up, brush my teeth, and then get on the phone.
What about? Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Do you have the setting where the blue light shuts off? Can you do that on your phone?
Yeah, like the night mode, and it changes the lighting of the phone and on my computer.
Great, excellent, because that can be really confusing to your brain, and that can really keep you up because your brain's thinking it's daytime when they see that. So,
what about you, Steven? Are you a phone sleeper? Do you have a pillow phone?
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I can't like fall asleep without doing something. I either have to like watch TV or be on my phone or something. It's pretty bad. I mean, I can. It's just much easier, and so that's like the default.
Is that what Bernadette was talking about, right? Getting drowsy, right? So you feel like you need that. Like I feel the same. Like I need that drowsy eye feeling to fall asleep.
Yeah, watching like a movie or something. Like I watch a lot of movies anyway. Like that, but
yeah,
it just helps. Like it takes my mind off the fact that I actually I'm trying to sleep, and more just distracts me, and then eventually I'll get there.
are you watching a movie from your laptop in your bed, or is it the screen a little bit further away?
I don't know. Sometimes it's my laptop, but sometimes I'll fall asleep on my couch, on a TV. But usually it's further away. It's not like right up in my eyes.
Yeah, because if it's further away, it doesn't. It's not. It's less likely to disturb your sleep.
Lauren, any thoughts on that? What are your phone sleep habits?
I tend to put my phone on a table beside my bed, and if I have school the next morning, I don't touch my phone after 10 p.m.
Very disciplined.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm a very scheduled person. But usually I like to read before bed, but I've also kind of been getting into the habit of reading books on my phone. So sometimes I end up just having to put the brightness down as low as it can go to read. But it's either the light of my room on or the light of my phone on when I read. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Really, you're a big reader, right? So are you reading on your phone too, or are you reading?
Okay. So one of two things happen if I read before bed. Number one, this is usually what happens. I try to read and my brain's already shut off, and I have to reread the same sentence 10 times over. And so I just have to either put the book or my phone down. And I prefer reading physical books, but sometimes it's just easier to get one on your phone. Or two, I will say, okay, I'm just going to finish this one chapter, and I will not only finish that book, but the next one in the series. That has happened on multiple occasions, and I have just pulled all-nighters just to finish my series. So
you're really into
before bed's dangerous for me. Yeah.
That's fair.
Bernadette, how important is that drowsy thing, the drowsy feeling? Is that an important factor for sleep and to be more rested in the morning if you're tired when you go to sleep, or to force yourself to sleep?
Yeah, because there's something that we call sleep drive. We also call it sleep juice. So as the day goes on, your sleep drive is building and building and building, so that by the time it's 10 or whenever it's getting close to your typical bedtime, if your sleep drive is building through the day, then you're more likely to be drowsy and better prepared to fall asleep. But there are some things that can take away from your sleep drive, right? That could empty your thing of sleep juice. And so that could be, maybe exercise just before you go to bed, or that could be a really long nap after dinner. That could really take away from your sleep drive. Or that could be an exciting book, or a book that you're really into it, because you can push through that sleep drive, that kind of drowsiness and kind of get a second wind. And, there are people that I've worked with who they've had like 3 different shifts of drowsiness, but it's all like very individual. So helping somebody kind of improve their sleep really just depends on what works for them. And so we were able to get this one person down from 3 different like shifts of drowsiness or sleep drive to like 2 or 1. So by the time she was done, she was still pushing through that first sleep drive, but then by 1 o'clock, she was starting to wind down. And that was real growth for her. So it's very individual.
So does anybody here not feel like their mood is affected by their sleep, that they can just push through and be happy? Cody, you said okay.
A little bit. I can definitely notice that my sleep affects my mood to a point. However, I feel like once you go to college, you just have to do it. Like, you just got to get through it. And so you get into that habit of like, if I get 3 hours of sleep, I still have to go to classes and, put a smile on and do everything I need to. So you kind of get used to it. But I think when I have consistent periods of no sleep, maybe after like the 3rd or 4th day, I start to feel like, I feel weird. Like, I'm tired.
Hey, I have a question. Do you feel like after you have like done what you need to do and you've stayed up all night trying to get that paper done or whatever project you need to get done, right? There's a lot of pressure to get that done. Do you feel like then you kind of just don't do anything the next day once you've like made that deadline and you've handed it in? Do you kind of crash and do very little?
Yeah, I think I like to have a plan of things that I need to do. So if I have the option, like obviously I could be doing more things, but if I have the option of like, nothing's pressing the next day, I'll probably take naps and sleep or even just like waste time, like literally just waste time and procrastinate.
Yeah. And so what we see is that might be like disruptive to overall sleep. But you know what I think? And I'm wondering what everyone else is thinking about this too, is like the pressure to get things done, the achievement, the grades, the deadlines, all really challenge our sleep hygiene and the importance of sleep. And so I wanted to hear what you all thought about that.
I would say that it almost feels rewarding if I've pulled an all-nighter. Usually it's not intentional because, I would like to be able to sleep. But if I get into it and I'm like, I could finish this in 2 hours, and then I'd be like, look at me go, and it would feel really good. And honestly, like the pressure, it's kind of like pushes you through it, and you get like that adrenaline as you're just writing it out or taking your test or doing whatever. So yeah, I do see how that could affect, I guess, the way that you sleep.
Yeah. But you have to get it done, and you're weighing what your options are.
Yeah, I would definitely rather sacrifice sleep to turning something in or getting even getting a little bit ahead.
Anybody else? Steven, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm a big procrastinator, but I kind of I've never pulled an all-nighter to do schoolwork. So
to do other things.
Yeah, to do other things, but never to do schoolwork. No, schoolwork does not have that priority. But no, anyway, like the deadlines that we get are all at like midnight anyway, so it really wouldn't make a difference. Like, I'll stay up till like 11 and then start my paper, and I work my best. I'll finish by 12, but once 12 o'clock hits, like, I'm done. I'm ready to go to sleep, and that's probably why I'm able to wake up at a consistent time.
That's awesome.
Whitley, what do you think about all this?
Yeah.
What Steven and Cody said.
Yeah, for me, if it's like a project of some sort, like a Google Slides or a presentation, I can stay up. I can do that until like 4 or 5 a.m. Anything like that has some like logic, but it's more of the like creative, I can do that as late as I want because I get very perfectionistic, especially when I'm sleepy. I'm a perfectionist either way. But when I'm really sleepy, I get very much into the tiny little details. But if it's like an essay, like a very long essay or a bunch of math problems, I cannot do it at night. Like I have to do it right whenever I get out of school or out of that class if I have a break, because if not, like I've lost all of my motivation and I just look at the paper and I'm like, I'm good. But I definitely have sacrificed sleep for grades a couple of times for projects.
Lauren, you're nodding your head. You're in agreement.
Yeah, I take my grades very seriously. So if it came down to it, I'd definitely pull an all-nighter if I needed. Group projects are probably the biggest problem when it comes to getting good sleep, because you have to make sure your partner's in agreement on the work, and if the deadline is midnight or if the deadline's first thing the next morning and your group members aren't responding until way late at night, it's difficult to get all that situated. But yeah, I would definitely value the grade over the hour of sleep.
So I hear you say you value it because you want to get that grade. But what are your thoughts about like that even being placed on all of us? Like, I'm wondering if one day down the road, right? I don't know, 20 years, 30 years, if there will be like a different system where that won't even be put upon you, I don't know what everyone thinks about that.
Well, I will say this was the first time I've ever experienced this, but last year, one of my professors would make her due dates at 4 p.m. Whereas a lot of my other professors, things were either due at 12 or at 7 a.m. So she was like, I'm making it due at 4 p.m. on purpose so that you're able to sleep. If you need to get it done and like you haven't done it, you can wake up at 10 a.m. and like finish it instead of having to pull an all-nighter until 7 a.m. to turn it in. Which I was like, this is weird, but I ended up growing to love it. So
yeah, I feel like there's a lag, right, between what's really beneficial to us and what's healthy for us and what's expected of us in many different settings.
So Bernadette, you were saying that you think in the future that we're gonna have like sleep rights and that people aren't gonna be forced to pull all-nighters and to do these things. Is that what you're talking
I
about?
wonder. I mean, I haven't gotten any heads up from anyone, but I wonder because it's really there are so many studies on sleep, and these are things that we're learning, and it's so impactful on our mood and on our energy, and can really like worsen mood symptoms and exacerbate feelings of feeling down. So I wouldn't be surprised if that was down the road at some point, because I really don't think a lot of people are aware of how important it is. I think everyone's like, yeah, sleep, but I don't think anyone's prioritizing it in terms of different settings, like high school, there's games, there's like high school and college, you have so much pressure on you to accomplish it all. I just feel like sleep and
it takes a back seat, right, to everything.
Sure does.
I mean, none of the social activities in college even start till like at least 10 o'clock or later.
Yeah.
I'm already asleep by then.
I actually like the sleep rights thing is an interesting thing, because as good as that sounds, like when my teachers made stuff do it like 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I hated that because it like, I don't know, it makes it so that it feels like it's less on my own terms, like when I can do it. But obviously, when it is on my own terms, I do it at the very last minute. So I don't know.
Yeah. I can see that being a hardship on people that have after school activities, especially for high school students, because if I have soccer immediately after school for 2 hours, I can't get a math assignment done. And I understand if it's like if it was given the night before. I can understand that, and it gives you the day to get it done. I had a teacher that she'd give it to you that night. You go home, and if you have the chance to turn it in until the end of the day at school, which was nice. But sometimes if you're confused about something and you need that extra time to get questions in, and you can't do it during other people's classes, it's difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear ya.
I had a job once, and my boss basically said he didn't care when you worked as long as you got the work done. And I was doing like video editing at the time, and there was times when I would just work like for 2 days straight. I wouldn't even sleep. I would just work, do all the video editing, export all the stuff, and then he'd like, all right, then I would just like take off 2 days in the middle of the week to rest because I had been up for 48 plus hours or whatever.
I totally relate to that.
Maybe it's part of my ADD. I don't know.
When I'm editing a funny video or something, it's very easy to just stay up because it's something I'm like interested in. When it's something that like, I don't know, the school gives you like a paper and write about like, I don't know, the Shakespeare or something, it's really boring. But if it's something I'm interested in, I could probably stay up all night doing it. But yeah.
So you're driven to do it. You want to do it. It's exciting for you.
Exactly.
So do you notice when that happens, do you notice any difference in your mood or your energy the next day?
When I sleep less, I don't know. I think it depends on what I have to do the next day. If it's like, because when I would stay up late and get like 3-4 hours of sleep before school and still have to wake up at the same time, it ends up adding up and you feel miserable, especially because like you have to like put up with all the stuff that the teachers are giving and throwing at you and whatever. But if I just have like a day, like a free day or something, like I really, it doesn't really affect me because I feel like I can get the same amount out of that day that I could otherwise.
Okay. Yeah. Because you know what I wonder too, a lot of times people don't make that connection of mood and lack of sleep. And so it's just really interesting. You were going to say something, Whitley?
Yeah, Whitley, I saw her nodding. I was wondering if you had something to add to what Steven said.
Like I understand where you're coming from. A lot of my friends are like that, but I always thought that like one night I got really bad sleep, I always thought the next day, like I was a little grouchy, but I thought I could like pull it off well and not act grouchy. But I then realized from my friends and my parents talking to me that I do not pull it off at all whatsoever, because I noticed the second day I was very obviously just like not wanting to deal with anything. So it does affect me more than I thought it did. But I am envious of people that don't get affected by a lack of sleep.
It's funny you said good sleep. No, because you're like drawing differentiation between quantity of sleep and like how well you sleep. And I also find like your dreams, right? So if you have a good dream, does that affect your mood? Or if you like woke up from a nightmare and do you feel like you have a bad day because of how you slept?
Whenever I was like 13, I had like the worst nightmare. I don't remember what it was, but I woke up and all I could remember was darkness and I was like crying. Like it was like the worst thing that ever happened. Fell asleep the next night, exact same thing happened. So I was scared to sleep after that. That was the only time it happened, but that definitely messed with my sleep. But whenever I have good dreams and I wake up, I get really mad because I'm like, I want to see how the story ends. So I try to go back to sleep. So that does affect my sleep.
Can you do that? Because I always try to go back to sleep to hear my finish me, and I always have a problem. I can't do it.
Maybe 10% of the time I can actually fall back asleep, and I can only remember 3 specific times where I've been able to like get back into the same dream.
Wow.
Cody, what do you think about what quality of sleep? And
I think there's definitely a difference. There will be nights where I have slept for like 12 hours, like Whitley used to do when she was younger. But I feel so tired. And I guess maybe that's part of just sleeping too long. But if I'm like waking up in the nighttime, or I'll have like 30-minute breaks of just being awake, or I'll have to like go walk around or go to the kitchen or get on my phone or something, then it's definitely not the same as if I were to just sleep consistently for even 5 hours.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So I know dreams are like a totally another like subject entirely, but I don't know. I was wondering, if you have any insight on dreams, because like I used to have this one dream when I was little. Like we had a statue of a duck by our pool, and I don't know why, but every night I used to have this dream where this duck would like come alive while I was swimming and chase me, and it was terrifying. So I don't know. Do you have any insight as to like what that means?
Well, I don't have any insight on what the dreams mean, but we do. We are seeing that disrupted sleep or restless sleep or poor sleep quality leads to nightmares or bad dreams. So we do know that.
So if you have a bad dream, then it leads to more bad dreams, you're saying?
Me?
Is that what you just said?
No, I think that if you have poor quality of sleep, so poor quality of sleep may be for other reasons besides the nightmares.
Like a lumpy mattress.
Yeah, it could be lots of reasons, or maybe you're maybe you push through that sleep drive to stay up longer, and now your sleep is restless, or maybe stress, or maybe you did things differently that day, and so, or maybe you just had a lot going on. That could all lead to poor quality of sleep and nightmares.
Does that answer your question, Steven?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just that dream has never like escaped me. After
the duck that was chasing you. So do you still have that dream to this day when you have?
Actually, it's been a while. Maybe like a couple of weeks.
I used to have
you had it recently.
Really?
Yeah.
I used to have a reoccurring dream where I was swimming in a giant bowl of applesauce and raisins, but that was it.
Do you still have that dream?
No, I haven't had that dream for over 30 years, but I still remember. I can still picture the dream in my mind, so it's still ingrained in my head. Did anyone else have a?
I wonder if you're gonna have that dream this week. Now that you've mentioned it.
If I do, I'll let you know. Yeah.
All right.
Did anyone else have any questions about dreams that you wanted to talk about, Whitley?
I have one. Do you know the significance behind just the reoccurring dreams in general at all?
No, I don't. I don't know too much about dreams.
Right.
It's just not my expertise, but I think that if they're distressing, it could be a signal that there's a lot going on in your life, or there's stress or some anxiety somewhere, perhaps.
Right.
And when you're studying sleep, I mean the dream, because do you do electrodes and you can see if people are actually dreaming, or I know you can't see what they're dreaming, but can you tell the REM cycles and stuff, right?
You know what we have these wearable technologies where our participants wear watches, and that really measures their activity levels and their sleep levels. I don't believe it's measuring REM though. It's different from a Fitbit. Do any of you have Fitbits?
I used to have one.
Because that's really cool how it can kind of show you your cycles.
I think that the Apple Watch does something similar.
Do you use it to track your sleep?
I do. And then it sends all the data to your phone, so you can actually look and see.
I saw some app that tracks, and it says it monitors your sleep, and it even tells you if you farted while you were asleep.
Are you kidding?
No, I saw an app.
I gotta get this app.
Yeah, there are apps that'll record you while you're sleeping, and it'll make note of any time there's any sound. I have no idea if it was true. It was a TikTok, so I didn't fact check it, but there was there was like a gunshot down the street or a car revving away, something of some crime, and a girl ended up catching it on her like sleep recording tracker thing, and she ended up like handing that over to the police, is what I saw.
Oh, so it's like the dream version of the Ring doorbell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Lauren, do you have any questions about your sleep and mood that you wanted to talk about?
I don't really have any questions.
Do you believe
The only
that
thing-
what happens in your dreams actually happens to an alternate version of you somewhere in the multiverse?
I hope not. I don't have good dreams. Yeah, that'd be bad luck for my alternate self. The only thing, I guess I don't know if it's necessarily a question, but just a track that we could go on is how I guess inconsistent sleep or something along that lines affects mental health. Maybe I know having inconsistent sleep is one of the signs of someone with suicidal ideation. So stuff like that would be interesting to go into.
So one thing we're seeing, which is really, really cool to see, is, so I know we've talked a little bit about routines, but those routines that happen during the day, so your consistent wake up, your consistent bedtime, you know, even if you have a cup of coffee at 2:00 in the afternoon, or even if you're meeting a friend at the same time at 4:00, or even a certain class, like college and high school, I have to say the plus side of everything that's on your shoulders and all the pressure to get things done at your age. One thing that's really nice is you have routines, right? You have your classes, you have your meetings, you have routines, and routines are really, really beneficial to your sleep. And what we're seeing is when you have strong routines, it really helps your sleep. And so your strong routines, your strong sleep, it builds this resilience around you, which is so neat to see, where you could have the same frustrating interactions, you could have the same disagreements, but if you have that armor around you, you seem to be able to tolerate it a little bit better, which really improves your mood and really helps to alleviate symptoms of depression. And so that's what we're really noticing. And I know we've spent a lot of time talking about sleep, and you've all sort of conveyed that you have really nice routines, like you have similar wake up times or consistent wake up times. You have consistent bedtimes, and it seems like, you know, if you're going to bed later, it's not because you can, it might just be because you have stuff you need to get done. So keep in mind that other things that are really important are meals and activities during the day, and they too will really impact your ability to fall asleep and your quality of sleep. Again, though, if they happen at the same time, so that's really what's important. Because a lot of people go running or they do certain activities, but it changes.
Now, what about the midnight snack, since you mentioned eating?
You know what? If it's consistent, then I say go for it. I mean, I think maybe as long as it's not a heavy meal just before you go to sleep, it's fine. What are your thoughts about that? Do you find it helps or doesn't help?
For me personally, I have like low blood sugar problems. So if I don't eat every 2 hours, I feel like sick and miserable, and I cannot fall asleep like that. So if I think I'm going to fall asleep by 10 and I eat dinner at like 7:30 or 8, or maybe a little bit earlier, but I end up falling asleep at like midnight or being awake at midnight or 1, like I have to get a snack.
Yeah.
But I also, even if my blood sugar doesn't drop, I like having like goldfish or something next to my bed. or peanuts. I've tried to keep a semi healthier option, because one time I made the mistake of keeping like a bag of Hershey Kisses next to my bed, and worst decision I've ever made. It was gone in like 2 days. It was bad. It was bad.
No, I'm on board with you, Italy. Like, I don't like going to sleep on an empty stomach. So if I'm at all hungry, I need at least something in there to make me. I guess maybe that makes me drowsy. I don't know. Anybody else? What about you, Lauren? How's your snacking?
I have problems identifying when I get hungry. So I usually have to set alarms for when to eat if I'm not in like school or whatever. But I mean, if I forget dinner, then I just forget dinner, and that's how it is. So I don't know. I haven't noticed how my sleep is with food versus without.
Yeah, for me, I mean, go away. For me, I don't know. It depends on like kind of how much motivation I have to like do something. Like for eating, sometimes like I go to the gym, so sometimes if I want to eat less, then I have a little bit more like motivation not to eat at night. But if I don't, then it's pretty easy, because again, like I said, I go on my phone or I watch TV, and those activities are like, I feel like you need to eat while you do something like that. Which is pretty bad, because then,
Like the movie and popcorn phenomenon.
yeah, I know it's terrible. We gotta get rid of that phenomenon.
And what are your thoughts on the multiverse dream theory from Doctor Strange?
You know, that was a scary movie, so I couldn't watch the whole thing.
Oh, okay. Okay. Cody, how about you?
Yeah, so I definitely hate going to bed hungry, because then my mind is just on that, and then I usually just end up getting up and like getting something anyways. I do usually go to the gym in the evening because it makes me tired. So like if I go to the gym after like 8, and then usually like an hour or so after going to the gym, I get hungry. So I try to go earlier so that I can eat dinner at like, around 6 or 7 or 8 o'clock versus 9, 10, or 11 o'clock eating dinner. But I did find a life hack. Like, I don't really remember any of my dreams, but I noticed that if I eat sugar before I go to bed, I'll just have some really weird dreams. And I'm just like, I guess a weird dream is better than nothing. So that's just
Really?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, who said something?
I said I have to try that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, try the sugar before bed thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's great you're making the connection, because I think a lot of times we're unaware of what leads to these things, you know?
I mean, this is kind of unrelated, but what I used to do is to remember my dreams is like I'd write them down right when I woke up so that I remember them.
I did that a couple of times too.
It's a good idea.
It helps.
Yeah.
So do you guys find that your wake up routine, is that something you still have, Stephen? A wake up routine? Does that help you?
No, I don't
get
do that
going?
anymore. But
No.
But I know now I just get up. I get up. I don't know. I have my body clock is just like consistent. Like I get up like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock every day. Like it's
No,
Even
you
on
don't-
weekends?
You don't use an alarm or anything?
even on weekends, unless I do something like really late at night. Like I don't know, if like I'm hanging out with friends until like 2 in the morning or something. Then I'll sleep in a little longer. But even still, sometimes I don't need an alarm to wake me up at 8. It just kind of happens.
You know, do you mind if I say something?
Of course.
Because I just realized, like, we're talking so much about routines and sleep, but one thing I also want to just kind of share is you also want to live life and enjoy it and participate in life. And so there's lots of times when your sleep is going to be disrupted because your routines change. So we're not against that at all. It's just kind of knowing when your routines are disrupted and your sleep might have been impacted, just kind of knowing how did that affect you, right? Just kind of being aware of how it might have impacted you, and then trying to get back to your routines as quickly as you can. But we totally are for, like, participating and doing lots of different things that add value and meaning to your life. So I just wanted to share that.
I have a question. So, let's say that you get out of your routine and you're hanging out with friends and it's really late, later than usual. How long does it take for you to get back into your routine and for like your sleep to kind of regulate?
That's a good question. I mean, I think it's individual, but it may be a day, maybe a couple of days. I mean, I think all of you seem pretty aware of your level of sleep and how it impacts your mood. So, Cody, how long do you think it takes you, generally speaking?
I guess it's probably like usually on the weekends I stay out later. I go to bed later, and then maybe by like Tuesday, I can kind of sleep around like my 2 a.m. bedtime.
Okay. So it takes you a little bit.
Yeah.
Stephen, what about you? Do you find your regulation to get back to the rhythm? How long does that take you?
Well, I can't think of like an exact number, but like this week, obviously, or last week, because like it was graduation and whatever, I was like getting like not a lot of sleep at all. So like Saturday and Sunday, I slept like double the amount that I usually do. And so, but by Monday I was good to go. So probably like I just need like a day or two that I can just like rest. And it wasn't just like sleeping for like 14 hours. It was sleeping for like maybe like 10 hours and then having like just staying up less, like being up for like maybe like a 10-hour day instead of like a 16-hour day. And then going, something like that.
Lauren, what are your thoughts on this?
That kind of segues into a comment in the chat, which is, are sleep and rest the same thing? So I don't think they are, because I'll wake up at 5:30 to 6 a.m., but I'll stay in bed resting until, depending on the day, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Just laying in bed doing nothing, not sleeping, but just because I don't want to join civilization yet. So I think in terms of getting back on schedule, I think it also depends on where your mental state is at. But I think the general rule is about 1 or 2 days.
Whitley, you agree with that?
Yeah, for me, it's usually like 2 or 3 days, but I've always had a very hard time having like a healthy like sleep cycle or whatever it's called. Like if I'll set a goal to try and be like in bed, no phone, like doing my best to go to sleep by like 12 or 12:30. If I break that one night and go to 1:30, it's going to take like 3 days to get back. I don't know. It's just hard for me to like keep it consistent early. I can keep it consistent later. If I want to keep it at 1:30 like a.m., I could do that. But trying to get it back earlier to get more sleep, that's really rough. Yeah.
Do you know too, what we notice is in terms of getting back into the swing of things, if you can keep some of your other routines the same, that helps you kind of speed it up or helps you to get back sooner. So maybe it's that meal or, meeting a friend or anything that you can keep consistent in terms of your other routines.
Which is probably why I get back on track sooner than Whitley per se, because I'm so scheduled, whereas I don't necessarily know Whitley's Whitley's day, but I'm
I
sorry,
could
Whitley.
be way more scheduled than you. I'm not, but I could be.
Yeah, you're not. We both know that. But I don't even remember the question. Anyway, back to you, Whitley. No.
I don't think I can take it from here. I'm too offended.
Too bad.
Anything else? Any other thoughts, Bernadette?
Chance Walker said, "What is the ideal amount of sleep?" in the comments.
Oh, we talked about this earlier. Do you guys remember?
7
to 9.
Yay.
So it's interesting because we're talking about how, right? We're talking about how sleep affects your mood, right? But your mood also affects your sleep, right? Because if you're in a bad mood or you had a bad issue during the day, then you may not be able to sleep. So then it ends up being like a feedback cycle of bad mood, bad sleep equals bad mood equals bad sleep. So how
Or
do you
bad mood equals too much sleep sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, if I'm like really mad or like angry about something, whenever it's time to go to bed, I can't sleep. The only time I'm productive at night is whenever I'm mad. I don't remember what it was, but I was upset about something, and I did an entire final for one of my classes at 2 a.m. And I created a whole website with all of my work from the entire year in it because I was like, well, I'm going to be doing something. It's not going to be sleep, but I'm going to do something.
Maybe you should be mad all the time then.
Yeah, that's a good idea. It's a good idea.
But you know what?
Pick at you.
That's a great example of how mood can impact your sleep, because when you're mad, you know that about yourself, and I don't know if it's a way of distracting yourself or a way of just like kind of zoning it out, but that's exactly how it does, right? So when we have different mood symptoms, it can really get us off our game in terms of when we do things. So but just kind of having the awareness and kind of bringing it back to those routines and sleep hygiene is helpful. Hard to do, really hard to do, but helpful.
Yeah. So, well, we're coming to the end of the hour. This was a great show. I learned a lot, and I hope everybody had a good time. So let's just go around and just let us know, what, for anybody that's watching, what you thought about what you thought about the show and what you learned or what your takeaways are. So why don't we start with you, Cody?
Yeah, so I thought it was a great show. Very important to learn about sleep, especially if you're someone who doesn't have a great sleep schedule. But I think one thing that I probably will take away from this call is just consistency and having routines. And I thought it was a great idea that, like, when you do get out of your routine, make sure that you're doing the other things that are consistent in your life. So, seeing your friend or eating dinner at the same time, just to help you get back on track.
Awesome. Whitley, how about you?
Yeah, kind of like what Cody said. I just found it really interesting that it's not just like when you go to sleep and when you wake up that is really important for your like sleep schedule, but it is, again, like what you do throughout the day compared to like your other days, having a routine and more than just sleep. I had no idea that could even come close to affecting it. So that was, I don't know, that's something that I'm going to actually stay awake thinking about.
Don't let it keep you up. Don't let it keep you up.
I'll dream about it instead. I think that's a good compromise.
Fair enough. Lauren, how about you?
I really think learning about the significance of sleep with mood can be a great benefit to those struggling with their mental health. So learning to maybe make a schedule could be beneficial to those struggling. But, sleep doesn't just have to be something to improve your mental health. It can improve your productivity. It can improve your eye bags. I mean, there's a lot of things. So
don't look at my eye bags.
There's no eye bags.
Awesome. And last but not least, Stephen, what's your takeaways for the day? I hope you learned to hate sleep less.
I'm still a sleep hater a little bit, but obviously we talked about how like the impacts of sleeping are like really big. But so even though I hate sleep, or I don't, maybe I'll say this: I dislike too much sleep, and so if I ever find myself sleeping too much or too little, I'll work on some of the routine stuff. Getting back to that routine, because that obviously like that's important. And my message out there to everybody is: don't spend too much time sleeping, because then you can't be productive. But sleep enough so that you can be productive.
That sweet spot.
The Goldilocks.
And Bernadette, what do you have to say to everybody on the panel and to everybody that's watching? I just wanted, thanks for coming. So
Yeah, thank you for having me. And it was such a pleasure hearing from all of you and knowing what was on your mind and knowing why it was so important to talk about sleep and moods. And, I have to say, I'm really impressed also with hearing about your sleep. And even though it varies, from, your sleep varies from each other, it does sound like there's some consistency there. So good luck to all of you. I'm glad that I could impart the importance of routines during the day, and I wish you all the luck with it.
Did you want to do a quick plug for your program at Yale?
Oh, sure. That'd be great. So at Yale Mood Disorders Research Program, we have lots of different studies for individuals who have symptoms or a diagnosis of mood disorders. So if they are struggling with bipolar or depression, and they're between the ages of 16 all the way to 79, give us a call and we can see if you're eligible.
And you said you do that with like Fitbit watches, and you don't do like probes, like anything?
We don't do probes, but we have cell phones.
Lobotomies or anything?
No. Yeah, so watches and phones.
Okay, cool. Great. Well, thanks. Yeah, thank you for coming. Thank you, the panel, for everybody that was here. I appreciate it. It sounds to me like we need to do a show about dream interpretation, because that was a big thing. I know that wasn't necessarily the topic, but it seemed like everybody had questions about that. So I'm going to try to rally up a dream interpretation expert, and we can do another show about that to follow up on sleep and mood. And thanks everyone for coming, and I guess we'll see you next time on Kids Are Talking.
Thanks.
Thank you.